My name is Sloane Mercer, and the wheels had barely kissed the runway in Duluth when my phone lit with a subject line, Mortgage Disbursement Notice. I didn't open it right away. I watched the wing flex, felt the brakes bite, and let the engine whine fade, London from my ears. Then I read it line by careful line, the way I read contracts and freight terms built to hide a trap. My house, my quiet 3-bedroom ranch at the edge of town, had been pledged as collateral on a $280,000 loan at North Shore Federal under my name with a signature that wasn't mine. I didn't gasp. I didn't call my mother. I buckled my coat, slid the phone into my palm, and stood when the seatbelt light went dark. The aisle smelled like stale coffee and wet wool. Somewhere behind me, a kid kicked a seat and apologized to the wrong person. I walked the jet bridge, counting like I count pallets in transit windows 7 days. 7 days is how long this will take. Outside, the air knifed through my scarf and put color in my face I didn't ask for. Snow crusted the rental lot in strict, clean rows, and the keys felt heavier than they should in my hand. I drove toward town with a heater roaring and my jaw set replaying the email numbers, dates, the careless certainty of people who think you won't check. I didn't say I was angry. Anger wastes fuel. I said I would verify. I said I would start a clock and absolutely refuse to stop it. By the time the skyline broke through the trees, the plan was simple enough to survive the cold. I would not argue. I would collect proof, choose a time, and make the room go silent. The drive from the airport felt shorter, like the road was ashamed. I parked at dusk sky bruised purple over the frozen lake. Through my parents' window, 3 silhouettes waited, either guilty or confident I'd come play my part. I walked in without knocking. My mother clutched a spoon my father dried already damp hands, and Miles leaned casual hoodie crisp arrogance loud. "Before you get dramatic," my mother said. Sugar-voiced Miles just needed help. "You weren't using the house." My father stared at the floor. Miles smirked. "It's family Sloane. Don't be selfish." I didn't reply. Silence makes better weapons. I poured water, set down my bag, and let the quiet stretch until it hurt. "You thought wrong," I finally said. Miles sneered. "You don't even live here. That's why it was safe," I told him. His smirk wavered. I stayed 10 minutes. No lecture, no accusation. Just observation, the kind that sketches fault lines. Then I left. Outside, the cold hit like truth blood believes it has rights to your labor, your roof, your patience. I drove home to my house, not theirs. Inside, the fake fern by the entry still waited exactly where I'd left it. The safe in the basement didn't. The basement always greets me with the same scent, dry concrete, a hint of cedar from the shelves, and that faint metallic whisper from the safe. When I opened the door and felt the cold steel, I already knew trust had been the first thing stolen. The hinge groaned the way it used to when I checked my passport before every European assignment. I spun the dial, keyed the last number, and pulled. The paperwork rested exactly where I left it, but intent leaves fingerprints louder than hands ever do. My name sat on the mortgage agreement, my handwriting didn't. Whoever forged it thought neatness equaled truth, but signatures aren't clean. They stumble in familiar places, curve where memory guides muscle. This one felt mechanical, like someone traced the idea of me and hoped the bank wouldn't look too closely. I turned the page. My passport copy clipped at the edges low resolution enough to reveal someone had rushed. The stamped date matched the week I was overseas. Convenience masquerading as opportunity. Beneath it, the North Shore Federal letterhead, the numbers in sharp, confident ink, and a notary seal. Off-center. I froze, then lifted the next sheet, the notary acknowledgement. My name. A timestamp. And a space where a journal log number should have been blank. Greer Nolan. I whispered it once, twice, then slower, tasting each syllable like it might tell me why someone who took an oath to witness truth decided to witness a lie instead. I pulled my phone, killed the flash, and documented every page like evidence at a crime scene. 23 photos. Then I slid a fresh sheet from my briefcase, signed my real name, once, twice, pressing hard enough to leave a ghost print through the page. A signature is muscle memory. You can't download that. Whoever tried to be me forgot that. A furnace kicked on upstairs. Pipes hummed. The house felt sentient, as if its bones recognized the moment someone tried to unhome me. I uploaded the images to an encrypted folder, backed them to a secondary cloud vault, then mirrored them to a secure inbox. When you spend a decade moving freight across continents, you learn redundancy isn't paranoia, it's insurance. I closed the safe gently, not like something was taken, but like something had been revealed. Miles didn't just gamble money. He gambled my silence. My family thought they were borrowing my future without asking because history told them I wouldn't protest. That era ended with the turn of that dial. Upstairs, the living room lamp threw a warm circle across the hardwood. Outside, snow tapped the window in soft, steady pulses. I sat on the couch, pulled my coat tighter, and checked the time. Tomorrow I would walk into North Shore Federal. I wouldn't ask questions. I would set terms. And this time I wouldn't whisper. North Shore Federal looked harmless white brick, neat hedges, straight lines, suggesting morality. I arrived early, coat high against the Minnesota wind folder, tucked like a hidden blade. Inside smelled of disinfectant and paper, the scent of mistakes pretending to be accidents. A teller smiled on autopilot. I asked for the branch manager. No explanation. Real authority doesn't introduce itself. Mr. Patel appeared polite, cautious. I laid my passport license and a forged mortgage packet on his desk. Verify something. He flipped pages. When he froze, I knew he saw it, the handwriting mismatched the missing notary record. This isn't your signature? He said. No, I replied. And the rest isn't legitimate either. His pupils tightened. He knew this could become both a regulatory and headline disaster. You'll issue an acceleration notice, I said. 7 days to repay, or I report it federally. After a long breath, he nodded. We'll cooperate. Outside, the cold bit clean through. The wind felt like ownership. Tonight I'd set the stage with silence sharp enough to cut. Sunday dinners once meant pretending peace. This one meant proof. I arrived early. Lydia in navy, Jonah steady as stone, both beside me. My family froze mid-ritual chicken mashed potatoes and guilt cooling fast. We need to talk about the mortgage, I said. Lydia laid the bank's notice on the table, 7 days to repay or face litigation. My mother's voice cracked. Sloane, we just wanted to help Miles and took my deed to do it. My father rasped. We meant to pay it back. You still can, I said. 7 days. Miles sneered. It's family. Chill. Jonah leaned forward. Forgery isn't a family issue. It's a felony. The color drained from my brother's face. My mother whispered, You brought them here? No, I said. I brought the truth. I set a timer on the table, 7 days, glowing red. Sell what you need to. Don't ask me for more. We left the untouched dinner behind. When the door shut, I didn't feel triumph, only clarity. Silence didn't fill the room. It emptied it. 7 days make people honest, not righteous. By day 3, my mother sold her wedding china. By day 4, my father let his old Chevy go. By day 5, Miles sold his gaming setup, hands trembling like he'd cut off part of himself. They weren't sacrifices. They were receipts. On the 7th morning, the escrow total still fell short. I drove to the courthouse steady as someone who'd already buried her softer self. Winter sunlight glared off the glass doors, too bright for the kind of truth waiting inside. Justice arrived quietly. Fluorescent lights, a clerk stamping a file. Lydia stood at the plaintiff's table, calm precision. Jonah sat behind silent witness. Across from us, my family looked smaller, sweater-frayed tie, too tight borrowed blazer. Fear fit no one well. Lydia spoke forged signature, false notary, unauthorized loan. Then came the blank notary line, the absence that proved everything. Mr. Patel confirmed it, verification failure, loan approved without ID. His voice flat, his eyes elsewhere. Miles whispered. It wasn't supposed to get this far. It rarely is, the judge said. The ruling landed like a snapped branch, restitution, pension, garnishment, bankruptcy, eviction. No shouting, just the quiet kind of hurt that stays under the ribs. When my mother reached for me, I didn't take her hand. Boundaries can hold kindness, too. Outside, snow drifted slow, indifferent. Lydia handed me the order. Jonah breathed out the weight of it. Behind me, Miles called my name. I didn't turn. Some answers only need to be given once. Minneapolis has a different kind of cold. Duluth cuts bone. Minneapolis tests resolve. I moved into a 6th-floor apartment with big windows and a view of the river, the kind that made you remember winter isn't an enemy, it's a mirror. I unpacked quietly, one box at a time. Coffee mugs first, books next. A framed print of the shipping routes I optimized in Europe leaned against the wall until I found a stud strong enough to hold it. Precision follows me everywhere. It's not a habit, it's a spine. Some evenings I sat on the couch with soup in silence, letting the radiator knock like it was trying to introduce itself. I blocked numbers in batches. Voicemails poured in before the pipeline ran dry, apologies that sounded more like negotiations, accusations disguised as heartbreak, long gaps where someone on the other end didn't know whether to plead or curse. I didn't respond, not because I hated them, because I finally loved myself enough not to. Work felt simpler than family ever did. Freight doesn't lie. A pallet weighs what it weighs. A route takes as long as physics says it does. People in warehouses in Antwerp and Hamburg knew me by the steady cadence of my steps and the way I rolled sleeves before solving a bottleneck. That version of me came back in Minneapolis, focused, sleepless when needed, ruthless with inefficiency, generous with effort. Weeks passed. Snow turned to slush, then to salt-stained sidewalks. Spring came like it always does in the Midwest, suddenly impatiently green where there used to be gray. One Saturday, curiosity or closure or something nameless pulled me toward my old street. I parked half a block away and walked slow. The ranch house still sat there, modest and stubborn. But the porch lights were different warm bulbs in lantern fixtures instead of the harsh white my mother always chose. A tricycle leaned near the steps. Wind chimes tinkled soft in the mild air. A new family lived there now. A new story breathing inside walls I once called sanctuary. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel loss. I felt right-sized, not victorious. Just balanced like gravity had finally put me down where I belonged instead of where duty used to chain me. A text buzzed, then Miles from a new number. "Just 3 words, I'm trying, Sloane." I stared at it long enough for the spring breeze to brush my hair back. Then I locked the phone and slid it into my pocket. Trying is a door. Whether he walks through it is his task, not my burden. I took one last look at the house, not to mourn it, but to thank it. That roof taught me the difference between shelter and captivity. That mortgage taught me the price of silence. That family taught me love without boundaries becomes servitude. Back in my apartment, I brewed coffee the way I learned to overseas: slow pour, steady wrist, no rush. Sunlight spilled across my countertop like it belonged there. Family isn't just blood. Family is choice, it's respect, it's earned. And sometimes the first person you have to choose is yourself. People like to pretend closure arrives with applause or an apology or a hug under warm kitchen lights. Sometimes it does. But more often, closure shows up quietly, like a coat you didn't realize you'd already put on. It wraps around you in the middle of a weekday morning while the kettle hums and the city exhales, and suddenly you notice you're not bracing for impact anymore. One afternoon, months after the dust settled, I sat at a cafe overlooking the river. The barista called my name, mispronounced it, and I smiled anyway. On my laptop screen, spreadsheets and routing schedules waited uncomplicated in their honesty. Outside, cyclists rolled past in streaks of color. A dog barked. Somewhere a piano played through an open window, careless and lovely. I thought of my family. Not with bitterness, not with longing, just with clarity. Love doesn't disappear when you draw a line. Love changes shape. Sometimes love is staying. Sometimes love is stepping away before resentment poisons both sides. I didn't win. They didn't lose. We all learned which weight belonged to whom. The hardest part wasn't the courthouse or the silence afterward. The hardest part was learning I didn't need to carry every person I cared about, especially when they chose to sit down while I kept walking. And the strangest part, I don't feel alone. I feel accompanied by boundaries, by peace, by a version of myself I nearly abandoned in the name of family. Some debts ruin you. Some debts free you. Mine finally paid off.